Hi, it's Vanessa Ugatti, the True Worth Expert here, and today I'm going to be talking about fixed fees, friend or foe. Now, I know this may not sound like a very sexy subject, but having spoken to many professionals, both legal and accounting, I know this subject is causing you so much grief, and I want to try and ease your pain and make it as simple as possible. So today what I'm going to be looking at are the two types of fixed fees and the upsides and downsides of fixed fees, and of course what you can do to make it better for you. So let's look at the first thing, the two types of fixed fees. So the first one is when you estimate the amount of time it will take you to do a job, and then you multiply it by your charge out rate, and that's the fee you give to your client. And of course, clients like this because it means they know exactly what they're going to be paying and they can budget for it. And the second type of fixed fee seems to be an arbitrary figure that is just pulled from the air and usually very low. And it's used in circumstances like for simple wills or a simple divorce or even a fixed fee meeting. But this fixed fee doesn't seem to be based on your hourly rate or how long it will take. And so it's very low. So it means you're not making a lot of money. But the client doesn't even realize how fortunate they are. So let's look at the first fixed fee type again. When you're setting your fixed fee with them, you have to be good at estimating. But estimating isn't just knowing how long the job will take. Estimating is knowing what your mind is telling you, because I know with the people that I talk to that very often they will err on the side of caution for the client. Oh, that means the client wins yet again. Now, of course, if you overestimate the time, then it works in your favour. Well, jolly good for you. But how often does that actually happen? And the second problem with the fixed fee is that quite often clients will then come back and ask for something extra to be done. And the service provider often doesn't charge for it. And partly that's because they haven't set the boundaries correctly in the first place, right up front with the client. So when the client comes back to them, they don't really feel they can charge again or charge extra. And when it comes to the second type of fixed fee, i.e. the one where it's the arbitrary figure, it's even more challenging because you've given them such a low fee in the first place. If they come back and they want extra work to be done, then you'll have to charge them at your normal charge out rate, which will be a lot higher than your original figure. So that is a challenge in itself. I'm going to leave that one to one side and just go back to the fixed fee, the first fixed fee that I was talking about. I'm hoping this is making sense to you. I know it's quite complicated, but in reality it's very simple. When you decide to give a client a fixed fee, make sure that the hours that you're going to be charging them for are definitely included in the price you give them. And also make sure that you have the right conversation so that they're very, very clear on what that fixed fee includes and what it doesn't include, most importantly. And that if the remit changes as you're doing the work, then you will have to have another discussion with them about charging. Don't just put that in a letter, have the conversation with them first, because this will stop you having so many problems. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about a real client I worked with some years ago actually now, who was a chartered accountant. And his charge out rate at the time was £175 an hour. But before we worked together, he was doing an awful lot of work without charging at all. Now, his clients were paying a fixed fee for compliance work, but then they'd ring up and say, could you just look at my cash flow forecast and tell me what you think? Or could you just fill in this mortgage application form for me? And he would say yes before he had a chance to think, or if he did think, it would go along the lines of, well, I'm not actually doing any work, so I can't possibly charge them. And so he would do it for free. Now, even if it only took him half an hour or an hour to do, what was that extra piece of work worth to the client? Would it save them from making some ghastly mistake that would cost them thousands? Or would it help them secure funding that they would have otherwise been refused? And consider this, if they hadn't actually wanted him to do it or valued his expertise, they wouldn't have asked him to do it, would they? So of course, understanding this was the really easy part of the formula for him, but actually telling clients he was going to be charging for the extra work was one of the hardest things he said he'd ever had to do in his career. But we worked on it, and actually within a few weeks he brought in additional sales of £9,000. And then in a period of 12 months, those additional sales added up to £42,000. And by the way, there were many other benefits too. Plus, he didn't lose any clients. And he was also still a really nice person, and still is a nice person. Now, for some of you, this means that you can go away and do this on your own. But for others, you might be thinking, I know I've got a problem with fixed fees. I'm losing money over this. And if that is the case, then please do get in touch and we can set up an initial chat. It's informal, there's no obligation to continue, but let's explore and see how I can help you. So that's Vanessa Ugatti, the Trueworth expert, saying bye for now.